Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Early Childhood, Early Intervention and Preschool Special Education Workshop presented by Pacer Center. So, we're here to talk about early intervention and preschool special education, which covers the ages from birth through 5 years old. And within the field of special education, it's commonly referred to as early childhood special education. And this workshop is created for parents and caregivers who live in Minnesota and have concerns about their young child's development, or maybe you're already accessing early childhood special education services. So, if you're a professional accessing this workshop, we encourage you to use this information to increase parents and caregivers' participation and understanding in the special education process. A couple of things to note in terms of like housekeeping. This is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. And I think it's usually posted, Colleen, you said like 24 to
24 to
48 hours.
48 hours. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're like, oh man, I want to go back and hear more about that, you'll be able to do that by accessing this on YouTube. And then also we'll talk again about it, but if you have questions, please pop those in the Q&A. We're using the Q&A for our questions today. That way it protects your privacy, and we will be able to see those, and we're going to have time to answer those at the end. All right, so we're your presenters for today's workshop. I'm Beth James, and we both have experience with early childhood special education. I was an early childhood special education teacher. I have my master's in special education, and I am a proud mama to some awesome kids. And we accessed early childhood special education services for one of them. And it was when we started to notice some things were different with their development, and it was a really positive experience to learn more about what was going on. And so I'm really passionate about early intervention and preschool special education.
Hi, I'm Colleen Cascudo. I've been with Pacer for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was a teacher for 7 years in gen ed preschool. I am a proud mama also of three kiddos, two of whom have disabilities and were diagnosed in their early years. So I've been through this process, both through birth to three and that preschool's IEP process as well. So you know how important it is, how overwhelming it is, and we're here today to kind of break that down for you.
Okay, so we're trying something new. We're going to be a little brave here today. I made this poll, and in theory, you all are going to be able to see it because we'd love to learn just a little bit about you who's attending. And so there should be two questions here. Um, the first is, what is your role? Like, who are you and why are you here? I see someone answered professional. Thank you for engaging. Yes, I love that people are answering. Thank you so much. I see some parents are here, quite a few professionals. Yep, and parents, a family member. Thank you so much for being here. That is awesome. And then it sounds like on the question two, how much do you know about early intervention and preschool special education? It sounds like a lot of the people here know a little bit about both. It sounds like maybe some folks could probably be a presenter, because you know a lot. And then and then it looks like there's some folks here to learn some new information to them. So again, just a friendly reminder for those professionals that please use this information to help your parents and caregivers that you're working with understand the process more clearly and engage in that process. And parents and caregivers, so excited to welcome you and share our time together today. All right, I'm going to end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Oh, did you all see the poll running? Could you see the results when it was happening, Colleen?
I could not, so I was just
Okay,
letting you
so
go with
here,
it.
I'll share it.
There we go. Now I see it.
There, now you see it. I'm sorry, I was talking about it and I thought you all were able to see those. So,
No, it was good to get,
all right.
good to know.
Okay. Yeah, great. Awesome. Thanks for engaging in that with us. All right. So, can you still see the slides?
Yep, you're still
Great.
good.
Awesome. Thanks for being flexible with us. I was happy to try something new.
All right, so first, a little bit about PACER. PACER is a trusted source of information, training, and support for families of children with disabilities. Our services help families and youth navigate special education and other complex systems through workshops and direct communication with families and individuals. We discovered assistive technology solutions through our Simon Technology Center and access bullying prevention resources through our National Bullying Prevention Program. We are the only organization in Minnesota that provides support for families of children and young adults with any disability from birth to age 26. Of note, PACER services are provided free of charge to Minnesota families. Please note that each state has a PTI, or Parent Training and Information Center. PACER is Minnesota's PTI. If you are accessing this from another state, please contact your PTI for state-specific information, as it does change state to state. We would also like to share that PACER is not a legal services agency and does not provide legal advice or representation. This workshop and related materials are for informational and educational purposes only and is not legal advice and should not be substitute for legal advice.
I'm trying to change,
I'm like,
not
okay,
listening.
enough with the fluff. Let's get to the good stuff here.
Yeah, this is kind of fun. All right, so it looks like my computer is freezing. There we go.
You're moving. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so learning objectives for today. First, we'll cover the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, commonly referred to as IDEA. So start putting that acronym in your bank. Then we'll go through an overview of early intervention and preschool special education, including how to access these services. We'll cover parent rights and responsibilities when your child is accessing early intervention and special education services. And to wrap up, we'll have time for open Q&A where we can answer your questions. So as questions pop up, please enter them in the Q&A. We'll do our best, to get to them, but please keep them general and for the good of the group. If you have specific questions, you can always reach out to PACER through our website and connect with an advocate like Beth or myself.
I really so I have the, when the circle is spinning.
Oh,
That's what's like, I think my
there
computer
you go.
is
It's just
exhausted. Um,
your computer is, I could see that. It has been
yeah,
a long
it
week.
happens sometimes.
And I don't think I
Um,
can.
there we
There we
go.
go. Okay.
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe we should start to see these pauses as like a little stretch break.
Right? Movement break.
Anyways, all right. So let's dig into it here. As Colleen mentioned, IDEA is short for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is the federal law that outlines early intervention and special education services. And so, to offer some framework for our workshop today, we want to highlight some connections. The purpose of IDEA is to ensure that children with disabilities get the education and services that they need. More specifically, so they can access what we call FAPE, free, appropriate public education. There are different parts to IDEA, and early intervention is covered under Part C of IDEA. So it relates to infants and toddlers from birth through age 2, where Part B of IDEA covers special education services for children ages 3 years old through 21 years old, meaning preschool special education falls under Part B. So, a way that I like to remember this is someone taught this to me years ago, and so I can't take credit for it. But you can think about it as Part C is for the little ones who are still in a crib, so C for crib. And Part B is for the little ones who sleep in a bed, so B for bed. So, from the crib to the bed, from Part C to Part B. And knowing a little bit more about the Part C and Part B of IDEA, it helps us understand more of the process as we're talking more about it and how it's laid out in IDEA. So, when we think about accessing early intervention services or preschool special education, these are accessed when a child is demonstrating development or needs outside of what is typical for their age. And you might be attending this workshop because you have concerns about your own child's development. And Colleen and I have been there. As we shared, we both have children with disabilities, and we had concerns and questions about their development in those early years of their lives. Here are some examples of some of the concerns that parents have. And certainly, this is not an exhaustive list, just some examples. You might be thinking, I have concerns. My child is not babbling and is 13 months old, or my child doesn't look at us. Is there anything I can do to help? Maybe you're thinking, oh, my child's preschool teacher said he isn't responding to spoken directions. And we at Pacer Center, we really believe in the power of parents, and each circumstance is unique. So we encourage you to trust your instinct to get more information. And if you have concerns, you can get more information about your child's development.
So here's what you can do. Contact your local school district to schedule your kindergarten screening for your child if they are 3 years or older. Regardless of their age, you may also request an evaluation. Or even easier, you can contact Help Me Grow for ages birth to 5 years old, and they will notify your local school district that you have concerns about your child's development. These services are free of charge. So once you've contacted your local school district or sent a referral through Help Me Grow, you will be contacted by your local school district. There are a couple of options on how to proceed based on your specific circumstances. Sometimes the school district may first suggest completing a screening. Screening is not a diagnostic process, but a process to see if there are differences in development that suggest further and more comprehensive testing may be warranted. Other times, the school district will propose moving to complete a comprehensive education evaluation to determine if your child is a child with a disability or a developmental delay and identify their current skills and needs, often referred to as their present levels of functioning. For the school district to proceed with screening and/or evaluation, they need your consent, meaning you have to agree to the screening and/or testing they are proposing. This also means that you have the option to object or disagree. We'll discuss this further in the workshop. Leads to a meeting, sorry. There are timelines laid out in Minnesota statutes describing how many days school districts have to complete comprehensive special education evaluations. The timelines are different for early intervention and preschool special education. If you agree to an evaluation for your child who is newborn through 2 years old, that's early intervention. The school district has 45 calendar days to complete the evaluation. If you agree to an evaluation for your child who is 3 years old or older, the school district has 30 school days to complete the evaluation. Once an evaluation is complete, it is determined if a child is eligible or ineligible for early intervention or preschool special education services. If a child is found eligible, this means that they have met an educational criteria for early intervention or special education services. This is not the same as a medical diagnosis, which can be confusing since some of the educational eligibility categories share names with medical diagnosis. For example, a child can qualify for special education services under the educational eligibility category of autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, even if they do not have the medical diagnosis of ASD. Overall, there are 13 educational eligibility categories in Minnesota, and regardless of how a child qualifies, Their early intervention or special education services need to be designed to meet their individual needs. So, how does this happen? Well, it's a little different for early intervention and preschool special education services. So, let's break that down further.
And, I'm thinking as I'm listening, Colleen, like, this is so much information. And just a friendly reminder that you can go to pacer.org and complete the Ask an Advocate form to get a call back and get matched up with an advocate here, like Colleen or myself. We have a lot of wonderful advocates here that can help you talk through your specific circumstance and kind of figure out what are those options and ideas for next steps. So we'll continue to present here, but just keep that in mind too. If you're like, whoa, that was so much information, like how does it apply to my situation? Please go to pacer.org and request a call from an advocate. So early intervention is for children from birth through age 2. These services are designed to meet the special developmental needs of a child who's been found eligible after completing an evaluation. And as Colleen mentioned, the school district has 45 days to complete the evaluation, and that's calendar days. And when a child is found eligible for early intervention services, an individualized family service plan team is created to address the areas of need that were identified through the evaluation process. That's a mouthful. IFSP is for short, Individualized Family Service Plan. We're going to be saying that quite a bit here. so, um, so as it says here, the IFSP team comes together to create that IFSP document, that service plan document. And so it's good to know who's a part of that IFSP team. That includes parents or other family members if requested by the parent. The parent can also request an advocate or professionals to participate. It includes the service coordinator from the district who's responsible for implementation and coordination of the IFSP, any evaluators or assessors that participated in the evaluation process, and then early intervention service providers, so any of those related early intervention service providers. This team will be responsible for creating the IFSP. And so then to understand what that document is, the IFSP, it's a document that's created by the team and outlines the supports and services that will help eligible infants and toddlers make progress in their areas of need. It takes into account the child's strengths, needs, and the family's priorities. And this is something that's really special in early intervention is the focus on family. The family part is essential because the plan includes what the family needs to support their child's development. The plan specifies services to be provided, including when, where, and how they will be delivered. Parents and caregivers often ask about what the early intervention services are. And the answer is that they're highly individualized. So there's not an exact answer, but we can give you more information about early intervention services in general. Early intervention services support these main areas of development: physical, communication and language, social emotional development, cognitive, and adaptive development. Once needs are identified in these areas, the IFSP team will determine who will be providing services to help your child make progress and how they're getting those services, like where and when and how frequently. Some infants and toddlers may have needs in their physical development. Perhaps they're not rolling or grasping as would be expected for their age. The IFSP team may determine a physical therapist might be an appropriate member of the team to help that young child learn to roll and work on other gross motor or large motor skills. And then the IFSP team may determine an occupational therapist should be involved since the child is not grasping or demonstrating those, since the child's not grasping, thereby demonstrating fine motor needs. So that's like how they're using their fingers to interact with their environment. Physical development also includes sensory development, including vision and hearing. Maybe this child is demonstrating communication and language needs. A speech language pathologist may be a part of the IFSP team to help support those needs. And for social, emotional, and cognitive needs, maybe an early childhood special education teacher could support those needs. The IFSP teams should be individualized to support the child's development and can be structured in a variety of ways. The above are examples and just that examples, but hopefully to give you some ideas about what it could look like. And then you can imagine for your own scenario, for your own kiddo, what that could look like. Per IDEA Part C, the Part C of IDEA, the IFSP must include a statement of the natural environments in which early intervention services will be appropriately provided, including a justification of the extent, if any, to which the services will not be provided in the natural environment. So the highlight there is that it's really important to provide these services in the natural environment. That's the priority. And when that's not possible, the team needs to talk about why that is. The IFSP team will also determine how frequently the visits will occur and put the number of visits in the IFSP so you know exactly what to expect. We're talking some, about early intervention today, and then also about that preschool special education. And when we were talking about that C to B, that's a transition moving from Part C services to Part B services. So, a brief note about that. This is planning that happens, the transition planning the IFSP team does to determine eligibility for, and if eligible, that transition to those preschool special education services. And this transition planning occurs at least 90 days before the child turns 3, but not more than 9 months prior to the child's 3rd birthday. So to determine if a child is eligible for special education services once they turn 3 years old, the team from the school district will complete a Part B evaluation then. So that's from that crib to bed, from early intervention to those preschool special education services to determine if that student is eligible. And if they're eligible to receive Part B services, those special education services, the team will look at that and start planning for the IEP, which Colleen is going to tell us more about.
Okay, so preschool special education falls under Part B of IDEA. And as Beth said, Part C, you thought of the crib, Part B, you think of bed. So the Individuals with Disabilities Act, the IDEA, is for students 3 years old all the way through 21 years old. So you might hear some folks talk about preschool special education or simply refer to it as special education. As mentioned before, the school district has 30 school days to complete a comprehensive Part B special education evaluation to determine initial eligibility for Part B special education services. The Part B evaluation may have been initiated by their early intervention team, your IFSP, your IFSP team, or it may be as a result of kindergarten screening, or maybe you put in a referral through Help Me Grow. However your child got to this point, the Part B evaluation will be complete, and if eligible, the IEP team will come together to write the IEP, which is designed to meet the unique needs of your child that they were identified in the evaluation process, and ultimately make meaningful progress on their prioritized goals within the general education curriculum. The IEP stands for Individualized Education Program, and the required members of your IEP team are the parent of a child with a disability, one regular education teacher, one special education teacher, a representative of the local educational agency who is qualified to provide or supervise the specially designed instruction and meet the unique needs of children with disabilities. That person needs to be knowledgeable about the gen ed curriculum. They need to be knowledgeable about available resources of the local educational agency. Your local educational agency is your school district. And it needs to be an individual who can interpret the instructional implications of the evaluation results. At the discretion of a parent or agency or other individuals who have knowledge or special expertise regarding your child, such as a related service personnel like speech pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and whenever appropriate, the child with a disability can also be a part of the IEP team. Minnesota state statute says that children with disability under the age of 5 and their families are provided special instruction and services appropriate to the child's level of functioning and needs. The IEP is designed to ensure that students with disabilities are provided the special instruction and services where appropriate to their needs. To make sure that this occurs, the IEP includes the following components. These are the most important parts of your IEP. Your child's developmental status or present levels. It means where are they at right now developmentally? The measurable annual goals. What are we working on? The services. How often are special education providers, those related service providers, how often are they providing their service? Accommodations, modifications, and support. So what additional tools is your child getting to learn in those environments? Your IEP team members, that's a really good list to know who is on your team, what are their names. And the least restrictive environment statement. LRE is another fun acronym to make sure you memorize. Once all of this is in place, you may be wondering, what does it look like? What will their services be? The decisions for what services a child will receive are based on the data obtained in that special education evaluation. The evaluation determines the needs, and the IEP addresses those needs through services. Prioritize goals and accommodations, modifications, and supports. Through this process, the IEP team determines what services your child needs to support them in making meaningful progress on their goals. And this is what should drive the process in determining what services a child receives, how often, and where those services are provided. We can dig into this a little bit more, what services can look like. Similar to the areas of development addressed in the IFSP, your child might have needs related to their physical development, their communication language development, social emotional, cognitive, and adaptive development. Something that is added as part of the IEP is addressing your child's skills and needs as they relate to the general education curriculum. This means the IEP team is looking at your child's skills and what they are able to do or areas of concern when accessing the preschool general education curriculum. Per IDEA, present level includes how the child's disability affects the child's involvement and progress in their general education curriculum. And preschool children, as appropriate, how that disability affects the child's participation in appropriate activities. The IEP should be designed to the child's level of functioning. So where are these services delivered? Well, per IDEA, services should be provided to a child in the least restrictive environment. There it is, that LRE. It's possible with the explanation of the extent. It's a lot of E. This is a lot of E words here. In any to which the child will not participate with their non-disabled children in their regular class. This can be highly individualized as to how this might look. Anywhere from having special education providers visit your child's preschool class to deliver the services or pull them out from class to provide services. It might look like special education teacher providing services in a separate classroom only for students receiving special education services. And services might also be provided in a child care center. We've reviewed a lot of information and possible scenarios, which are all highly individualized based on the unique strengths and needs of your child. You may be wondering, well, what happens when the school and I don't agree? This is where it is so important to know your rights in the process.
You know, Colleen, I just want to add in here because I'm thinking about a connection. We have a workshop that we just did recently. It's on our YouTube channel, and it's about understanding the IEP. And if you listen to all of this and you're like, whoa, like I don't even know how to look at this document, you know? So you could go and check that out on our YouTube page. You can get to our YouTube page really easily by going to pacer.org, scrolling down, and then clicking on the YouTube icon. Just thinking about that, that might be some nice extended learning if you're interested in really digging in to learn more detail about the IEP. I think it's called it's the Understanding Special Education series, and it's the IEP. Um, all right. So we have a lot of rights and responsibilities as parents in the special education process for both in Part C and Part B. And this is really important in understanding our rights and our responsibilities to help us be the best advocates for our kiddos that we can be. So, parents, we have a right to request yes, sorry about that. We have a right to request evaluations. And as we discussed, it is, oh, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to start over. Thank you. All right. Parents, we have a right to request evaluations for our child. As we discussed, information gathered in a comprehensive evaluation determines both eligibility, and then if a student is eligible, if a child is eligible, it also identifies that kiddo's needs. And at Pacer, we suggest any request for an evaluation, either that initial, that first one, or a reevaluation. We encourage you to put that in writing to have documentation of the request, and that can be a simple email. So then that way you have that written documentation. Parents have the right to review and copy your child's records. Again, we suggest making these requests in writing so you have documentation of what documents you requested and when. Parents have the right to share opinions and concerns. And at Pacer, we encourage parents to share their concerns and be open to the collaborative problem solving process and open to finding solutions. So we find that it can be really productive to ask questions and as an advocacy tool. So you may want to share your concern, but then also ask follow up questions so you can better understand why districts might be proposing one thing or refusing something, or maybe understand a little bit more about how that decision was made. Asking questions can help us understand the school's interests and sometimes help us find common ground. Parents have the right to bring someone with them to the meeting. So you can bring someone with you to the meeting. It may be helpful to you to have someone familiar with your family or with you or your child at an IFSP or an IEP meeting. And you can certainly invite them. You have that right. And it's really helpful to let the IFSP or the IEP team know in advance if you're planning to bring someone so they can be prepared as well. All right. And then this is a big one. This one's really important. Parents have the right to agree or disagree with the school district's proposals and have a right to understand the options for resolving disagreements. So, when a school district proposes or refuses to do something in special education, they need to provide it in writing to parents in the form of something called a prior written notice, or for short, we call it the PWN. And this is where parents have the option to consent or agree or object slash disagree to whatever is proposed in that prior written notice. Please note that for the initial evaluations, those first evaluations, either for an IFSP or an IEP, the school district needs your consent to provide those services. However, if your child is already receiving early intervention services or special education services, and you do not respond to that prior written notice within 14 days of the date that it was sent to you, the school district assumes that you agree. Excuse me, the school district assumes that you agree with what's being proposed in that prior written notice. So it's really important to read the details on there. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to us here at Pacer to talk it through with an advocate to make sure you understand what you're signing that you either agree to or disagree to. So this kind of goes right into our responsibilities as parents in the special education process as well. So we also have a responsibility to engage in the process. We have a responsibility to know our rights. I mean, here you are. What way to go? You're already learning. Um, and uh, and we need to take action in understanding what our rights are. We receive procedural safeguards. Parents receive that, and they outline the rights for us as parents. And uh, I didn't always read it. Oh, I know. I'm not the only one though. We get these things and I didn't always read it. And now I realize there's a lot of information laid out there in those procedural safeguards. So if you take one thing away, it's read what they're sending you. It's really important to fully understand what they're sending you. And if you have questions, reach out to Pacer and we can talk it through. We encourage all parents to review the paperwork that's sent to them, and so that's very important. Please make sure that you do that. Parents have a responsibility to attend meetings. Parents are the essential team members, and they're the only team members that are there throughout the child's educational life. We are there for it all, right? And so we need to be there and participating at meetings in a way that's meaningful and sharing our expertise. We have the responsibility as parents to complete paperwork. There can be a fair amount of paperwork when an evaluation or reevaluation is being completed. And so it's really, really important to complete the paperwork that's sent to you as a part of that process in a timely manner. So be sure to check your email and voicemails so that you don't miss any communication from the school about any correspondence related to the paperwork they need from you. So, as we mentioned earlier, the prior written notice is where you can consent or object to what the school is proposing. And so it's really important to get in the process of completing that paperwork as well, and make sure that you're doing that within those 14 days. You don't want to miss your opportunity to share an objection should you have one. Parents have a responsibility to make informed decisions, and this means that we should ask questions of our IFSP teams, our IEP teams, if we do not understand. It also means that we may need to do some learning on our own to ensure we feel confident in the decisions that we make on behalf of our children. Again, this is where contacting Pacer and working with a parent trainer and advocate can be really helpful. Parents have the responsibility to understand our child's disability and their needs. This can sometimes be a learning curve for us, but it's so important since you're the expert on your child that you understand your child's disability and related needs, as well as their preferences, strengths, and interests. We find that reaching out to disability specific organizations can be a really great way to learn more about your child's disability. Parents have the responsibility to communicate and advocate effectively. This one can be especially challenging if there's a lack of trust between the parent and their school district. Please remember that unless you're planning on moving, you will be interacting with the same school district for years. So, for the benefit of your child, it's very important to be clear and kind in your communication. And I like this aphorism. I think it applies that we can disagree without being disagreeable. And that goes right into the reason why that's so important is we need to keep the focus on your child. It's our greatest responsibility as parents, and that's to keep the focus on our child. They are our greatest responsibility, and we need to ensure that all we do in advocating for them is about them and their needs. Okay, so we are over to questions. How are we doing? Do we have a few?
We do. We have a few in the Q&A. Sorry, my mouse is kind of getting stuck between screens. Just kind of fidgeting in between. Okay, so yep, now is the time if you want to put some questions in the Q&A. Again, please try to keep them very general for the good of the group. We won't, don't put anything with your child's name or very specific disability or anything like that. For things like that, please contact Pacer and ask to speak with an advocate, and we can help you individually there.
Mhm. Right.
All right.
I can take one.
Sure, you want to start?
Yeah, so there's someone has a question here, wondering about, do those services also help with children who are homeschooled? Yes. However, homeschooling is an option, going from kindergarten, um, that way. So the intersection of that is a little fuzzy to me. So that would be a perfect example to kind of talk through your specific circumstance with an advocate, so then we can really have a solid understanding. But special education services are, when we think about school choice in Minnesota for our older students, certainly homeschooling. That's a part of those options where you can work with your district's team to figure out what those special education services could look like for your kiddo.
Next question here is an IFSP a Minnesota term or a federal term like IEP? So that is a federal term. So Part B, Part C, that is all part of IDEA, which is a federal law. So your IFSP is at birth 2, 3, birth 3 programming, and then your IEP is your 3 on. But it is federal. It is not Minnesota specific.
So we have a question here. Any resources or websites you recommend to help parents become strong advocates for their children? I, here I am a parent trainer and advocate at Pacer, so I really like the resources that we create. We have a new on our YouTube channel. We have a disability advocacy playlist that's like short form, 2 to 3 minute videos on on how to advocate for your kid, kind of different strategies. We have a new one on there as well that's about learning more about underlying interests. So when we're working with our child's school team, how is it that we can collaboratively communicate to get to those underlying interests and really work together in a collaborative way versus focusing on our positions. So if you have a moment, our website was recently updated, and if you go on at pacer.org, there's, what does it say? Like advice and something.
I
Yep.
don't know.
But it's right there.
It does say
There's a
advice,
block.
and then it
Yeah.
breaks down by
And
group.
then it has a lot of different topics. And then again, I think some of the newer stuff that we're putting out on YouTube, I'm really excited about it. Like you can pop in an earbud and get to the rest of your life while you're listening and learning. I think it's a lovely way to expand on your learning from today.
And just to kind of go off of that, what is also great about what's on YouTube is you have workshops like this that are about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we have little clips of like 3 to 5 minute tips and tricks and fun things like that. So I feel like there's a wide spectrum, and you can do it as best on your own time. But we have little and we have big, so it all depends on what you're looking for. In
I have,
regards,
oh,
sorry, I was
sorry.
just going to say in regards to the resources that were recommended for today and the slides, they were on that Zoom invite that you received to log in today. There was like 2 media links that were there, and that had the resources and the slideshow. If you are not able to access it, I guess if you want to email it in, and we can try to resend it.
Mhm. Yeah, so I have a professional here that's wondering about building relationships with families. Any specific tips for gaining the trust of families who've had negative experiences with the school system? I think it's really important to communicate. Just be really clear. Maybe ask the family what their preferred mode of communication is. I think also working together, if you can come up with a communication plan and memorialize that in the IEP, or to make sure that everyone understands what that expectation is, and I think that can really build trust, because the more back and forth you have, the more data points you have of positive experiences. If they're limited and they've only been negative up to that point for that person, it can be really hard to assume that it's going to move forward in a positive direction. So I think having proactive rather than reactive communication, and calling for the good stuff too.
There are a couple of professional questions in here about our resources. One, are they available in Spanish? Yes, we do have a couple advocates here who do speak Spanish, so you can actually connect to a live human advocate in regards to getting that language uh, barrier down. Or we do have some of our resources that have been transcribed into different languages as well, so not just Spanish. There are a couple different languages in there, and they can be transcribed. In regards to families that are new to the country and explaining special education to them, again, we have a lot of resources on there of just breaking it down. We have, and again, it's available in different languages, but I think it kind of depends where they are in the process. Is it, at the very, very beginning of getting evaluated? Is it looking for a medical, wherever you are in that process? We do have resources. I would encourage you to look at our website and then our YouTube channel as well.
I have a good question here from someone asking about physical education and IDEA. Should this person request this as a part of their child's comprehensive special education evaluation for ECSE? So I'm guessing that's preschool special education. Or will a DAPE teacher be a part of the IEP team for physical and motor developmental needs? Okay, that is such a good question. And there is not a perfect answer. So this is where it gets a little tricky. There is a curriculum for physical education starting in kindergarten. There's not prior, but we're looking at physical development as a part of those developmental areas when we're looking at preschool special education. And so I think the trick is, if you have concerns about your child's ability to move through space with their gross motor abilities, so those large motor abilities, or engage in gross motor activities, and sustain that engagement, certainly share that with the team and ask your team, because it varies district by district how they do that, how they are planning to look at those areas of development for gross motor. And you could even ask simply, like, okay, so if a kiddo is demonstrating, or if my kiddo is demonstrating needs in their physical development, how are those services provided at this age? There's not a perfect answer, but when you're looking later to transition into kindergarten, if you continue to have those needs, that would be an appropriate time for sure to involve DAPE if you have those concerns. Again, share that question with the team and see what kind of answer you get. I hope that gives you a little perspective, though.
And last question I kind of see in here, programs for daycares. I'm not quite sure if you're talking about like professional development opportunities are you looking for a workshop to be done for your employees? Are you looking to share information with your parents? We do definitely have resources
Professional.
available. So
Mhm.
professional. So I would say contact Pacer and we can see what can be done. I don't quite know the answer to that, to be honest with you. It kind of depends on what you're looking for, whether or not our YouTube resources are available to help you. So I would say to contact Pacer and us to speak with an advocate.
Um, Yeah, and some of the professional questions too, since we have quite a few professionals on here too, and parents, for you, if you're talking to someone and it sounds like maybe they have questions and they need to learn more, or want to learn more, or need that support to learn more, that's what we're here for at Pacer Center. And so, really saying like, hey, check out pacer.org if you want to get more information. They'll help you learn more. It's there on the prior written notice as well. So if you want to highlight that when you're sharing, whatever the district is proposing or refusing, and that prior written notice, it's one of the things early on when I would be helping families who just gone through their initial evaluation. And I'd go through the PWN, and it's really important to understand the resources that are on there and then also their options to consent or object. Mhm. Okay. This person is the one that was wondering about programs for daycare, kind of looking at it like a larger scale intervention program. And we don't actually like provide any of those services directly, but we can help maybe connect you with organizations. And then also wherever the daycare is located to that Help Me Grow referral process, professionals can access that as well and work with the local or the lead educational agency, the local school district for where the daycare is located. Um, so one of the things I want to show too as the questions are slowing down, we have some upcoming workshops. We have a lot of great stuff going on. Uh, there's a couple that I'm totally pumped about. In particular, is this Tech for Teens. I don't even know what Tinkercad is, but that sounds awesome. And then another one that's kind of unique, open office hours with Pacer advocates. IEPs are hard to read. It's not you, it's the IEP. So you can access those and look at those on our website, pacer.org, similar to how you signed up for this. And register for any of those. Those are some pretty great opportunities. And then we also have this. If you're sitting here and you're like, oh, yeah, I definitely need to connect with an advocate. Here you go. Here's the sign. You can use that QR code and be directly taken to the form online. Um, After the presentation, you'll be getting a survey, and we'd really love your feedback. It helps us do better for you all. And parents just know that we're here to help. We're really proud of the work that we do in making sure that we as parents understand our rights and responsibilities in the process, and we're here to walk through it with you. So go to pacer.org and ask to speak with an advocate if you're needing some support. All right. I don't know. Anything else to add, Colleen?
Nope, I think that is everything. Um, nope, I got nothing.
All right. Oh, you know what though? Someone just asked a question. So someone asked a question about declining services. You know what? Person that just asked, I have a lot of follow-up questions. I'm not
Mm.
sure I totally understand it. If you could please go to pacer.org and ask to speak with an advocate because I think we need a little more detail to answer that one. And that's the thing that's so tricky about this is that like a lot of the circumstances it's really specific and detailed and it's supposed to be highly individualized, right? We want it to be individualized to meet our kiddos needs, and that's what makes it a little hard in answering some of those questions without a deeper conversation. So but I want to say thank you all for being here with us. We appreciate your engagement. Thank you for accessing information through Pacer Center, and wishing you well on the rest of your day and whatever
Mhm.
comes tomorrow.
Thank you.
Now I just have to figure out how to end it. All right. Bye, everyone. I got it.